I guess that's a new safety feature. You guys hear that, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I looked. It doesn't look like you can turn it off. Well, you're being recorded. All right, let's rock and roll. Grab those goal worksheets. If you say, what's a goal worksheet? We got problems this morning because you should know that by now. But if you don't know, it looks like this. It's a white sheet. And at the top, it has two words, goal and worksheet. So that's your goal worksheet. Success is defined as the progressive realization of worthwhile personal goals. Personal goals include on the clock and off the clock. We happen to be really focusing on a work goal or on the clock goal. And so before you left me last time I saw you 2 weeks ago, you were working on your main business goal worksheet. You went to the back page and you scheduled a specific action step. That action step is designed to reduce or eliminate your biggest obstacle so that you can achieve your goal. So, Jacob, get us started. What was that commitment and how did you do? And you also made a personal. I think this group did personal and the other didn't. So, if you want to catch us up on that too.
So personal was to get my car registered, which I did.
Good. Way to go. Much more legal now. More legal.
I'm no longer an outlaw. And then on business one, there was really two main ones that needed to happen, and both of them were achieved. The first one was I needed to email a correspondent with a group called Dispatch in getting some introductions to, they're based out of Seattle, in getting some introductions to our Texas treatment teams, as well as they're going to be instrumental in helping some early introductions with our Spokane market, which is a brand new market for Rosti that opens up literally yesterday was the first day. So had to get that done. And then there was another contact with the University of Cincinnati that I needed to get in touch with that I was able to jump on a call with her.
All right. We have 3 magic words. We celebrate success. I
did it.
I did it. Good. That was the action. Just briefly, what results did you get from the reach outs?
All positive.
Good. That beats no feedback at all, right? So good.
Yes, we have secondary meetings to all of them. So
good. Way to go. Well done. All right, Deborah, coming to you. What was your business commitment? And then you can catch us up on your personal. How did you do?
So I think I mentioned I was going through an RFP process for a new broker, and I had to do the hard piece of the process of notifying all the finalists who didn't get picked that they were not selected. So I got that done by the end of the week and feel good to have that behind us. And now we're working on our transition plan.
All right.
And then as far as the personal goal goes, I may have mentioned I had a golf ball hit my hood of my car and I had a big dent in it. And I've had two, like the dealership and Service King give me quotes, but my husband really wanted me to get a quote from the Dentless repair shop to see if they could maybe fix it without all the expense. And I had been putting that off. And I finally, last week after our meeting, I got it on the calendar. I went and they weren't open at 9 a.m. So you would think they would have been open, but they weren't. So I have to schedule a new appointment. I haven't done that yet.
You did what you were in control of. So sometimes we do that circle of control and circle of no control. You did what you could do, but it didn't come together. So happy, what do they say? Happy husband, happy life. I think that's the saying. Put that thing back on the calendar and let's get that thing done. A lot of those PDR guys will actually come to you too. I actually have.
Yeah. Well, the dealership said because it's an aluminum hood, they can't pop it out. You have to do the whole hood. And so he was suggesting maybe one of these Dentless people could do it. But at the place I called, it's right by the office. It's right on Bidders, and they said they needed me to come in.
Yeah, that PDR stands for paintless dent removal. That's what you're talking about. Yeah. So
anyway,
PDR. Yeah, there you go. Eric jumped in that Friday group. It was alive. He was alive, but he's back with us. Eric, what was your commitment? How'd you do?
So personal commitment was I'm just still continuing on focusing on my diet and exercise.
How's that going for you, man?
That's going really good.
Yeah.
So I think 2 weeks ago, I had lost like 3 pounds. I've lost a couple more. So I still am not at my target, but I'm just continuing to try to stick to the goals that I
Good job, man.
Is that
We
a,
should, do you have a before lead and after lead, mid lead photograph? Slim face.
I do not. Yeah.
Did you gain an inch on your belt? Hey, how about the clothes going back on, guys? Anybody want to talk about that real quick or no? Holy cow, my drawers don't fit the same way. Shorts work really well, but anyway, sorry, a little personal there. Eric, go ahead.
And so for business, we are in the process of developing a new active care exercise program to replace one of our vendors, Physiotech.
Yep.
So last week I said I was going to commit to getting the production environments ready, even though the application's not ready, so we can begin testing. And it's mostly there. So I had 2 servers to stand up, and I did do one, and that one is active. And then the other one, I'm in the process of it. I still need to adjust some firewall stuff. So,
All right. Good job, man.
Yeah.
Good. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. And just to clarify, I was talking about putting on dress pants that I hadn't worn during COVID, just to clarify. But mine don't fit the same. I've gained some weight. Eric, good job. What I like about you is you're very methodical. That, you know, when you gave me the example on the back of the goal worksheet, when I was calling it a blueprint, you said, oh, it's a checklist. There you go. You know, that helps me, and you can just work your way through. So you've been really good with that. Congratulations on your personal success also. All right, Leslie, coming to you.
So my business goal was to continue to do my evals. I wanted to get at least, I believe, at least 2 scheduled last week. I ended up doing 3 evals, 2 observations, and now I only have 4 left till the end of June. So
Okay.
almost there, but I did it. I did all of that. And then the personal was to make a reading goal sheet for my kids with rewards for how much they were reading, and did that. And my kids actually remind me that they need to do it because they are enjoying it so much, and they've almost hit their first goal. So that's exciting.
Yay.
That's great.
Yay. So the term there is incentive-based motivation, right? It's the dangling of the carrot, right? We talked about that, and we said it works. It's great. And then especially with children, but it's the same with adults, you start to develop your own habit through that. Then it can become self-motivation that they choose to read on their own, and that grows. So way to go. Way to get them started. Well done.
Yes. I'm sorry about my noisy dog in the background.
That's all right. Never worry about that. Never worry about that. So, so what you watch, Kelly, you're coming next. What you watch as we go around is each of you are peeling off significant chunks that, yes, we're 2 weeks in between, but you're getting things done. That old boss I mentioned, my boss said, do something, don't do nothing. And sometimes we get so busy that when it comes to the most important stuff, we could look up 2 weeks later and say, oh my gosh, I haven't done anything to move me a step closer, but you're doing it. You're doing this. So we are starting to get towards the end of our journey together. And so part of, as Leslie just mentioned with her children, same with you guys, I hope I'm starting to develop a habit within you that in just a few sessions from now, we don't meet on Wednesday morning. What will you do on your own with regards to carrying on your weekly commitments and movement towards your goals? So be thinking about that. All right, Kelly, good morning. How are you? And what's going on? Catch us up.
Yeah, a lot. My professional goal was to keep myself working on our Salesforce platform and keeping myself up to date, blocking off schedules and honoring that time commitment. My last extended addition to that was printing off all of my current accounts in there and working through the update. So I got 1 sheet done 2 weeks ago. My goal was to get a 2nd sheet done in the last 2 weeks, and I did it.
Good.
Personally, mine was my summer schedule that got thrown out of the freaking window. So now I'm back to square one. We lost our nanny. My house is, I'm just now calling it the zoo. So we are scrambling to figure things out. So I'm restarting. I'm starting back over again on my worksheet and starting to reorganize our summer in a different way and pawning off children in 18 different years. So
Okay. Good.
it's the zoo here today. So I'm definitely going to be muted because I have children running around like
No
they
worries
have
at all. No worries at all. No worries at all. And Kelly, while you're doing that, think back to our lesson where we did the wheel of life, the balance, right? And so right now that balance is going to feel really weird in some places. And so as you start to, you have 100,000 things you need to do regarding all of that, but that's what's most important, and peeled off one thing at a time. Let's get one step and then one step. And don't let it overwhelm you when you look at that list of 1,000 things or 100,000 things. It's pretty daunting, but one thing at a time you can do it. So stick in there. Good.
Thanks.
All right, kids. Awesome. Oh, chapter 7. We've only got this chapter and next chapter. We have a total of 2 more sessions after this. So our next session, and then we do a graduation session, and we'll set you up a little bit more for that. So Deborah, I will record, and will be some instructions I'll hit early in the recording, and then we'll go into session. So I'll notate that when I get that to you. She'll be out next week. Okay, chapter 7. I'm telling you, we've referenced that red toolbox several times as we've come through this journey, friends. But mental image, that red leadership toolbox, that we've added some tools in each session in some way. Some of you had the same tools you added. Some of you had different. Sometimes I made suggestions. But today I've got some, we're going to load that toolbox up. I love this chapter. It is my hope that you are able to follow RX as close as possible with the listenings, the reading, and the worksheet that went along with it. So let's get started with best ideas. I said in the introduction last session to this really could be 2 chapters and maybe even should be 2 chapters because we deal with these all day, every day, decision making and problem solving. And they're 2 different things. I find some fantastic things in here. Jacob, coming to you. What was your best idea? Reference your page if you can. And most importantly, how are you going to apply the idea?
Yeah. So with mine, it was on page 76, which was kind of going with the theme of, I think the entire emphasis of lead training is have written and specific goals.
Weird. You've heard that before, haven't you?
Just a couple times. So in applying that, in our Ohio region, we have calls that we get on with the director of regional development. We get all of Kelly's on those calls. We're all on those calls to support the ACPs. And what we do is we, as the regional support team, always write down what we will do. But I don't ever think that we necessarily put that onus ever on the treatment team to write that down. Like we say what we will do, but then, so I think having them write down those specific action items that we have kind of between that time frame would be beneficial.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And referencing back, and I have to scramble, but that meeting planner, Manila page that I introduced you to, I think it was on communication. I'm drawing a quick blank. Anybody know off?
I didn't bring my binder today. I just brought the pages I needed.
I've got it. Just about page 3.7, back in the chapter on activity and results. On 3.7, the meeting planner was one I strongly urge you put in your toolbox, whether it was this exact format, or my suggestion was some plan rather than no plan. And this has the ability to record the action of the individual whom you just referenced, but they need to write it down also. But then it gives you a chance for follow-up. Very easy, very small format of who's responsible, what action is to be taken. And then you can follow up in next session without having to overlook it or recap that you know right where to go. That's a great tool if you guys haven't thrown that in the box. So way to go. Way to go. Yep. Common theme you may have heard now for 7 chapters. We got to have clearly defined goals and lots of feedback and a scorekeeping method. All right, Deborah Garrett, what was your best idea?
Well, I too love this section and would love to even spend more time on it, but I like the section that started dealing with people problems that started at the bottom of 77 and went through 78. And one of the things I have on my list this year is to create guidelines for leaders on how to coach their employees in a logical, thoughtful manner. And I thought I could get some definite tips from this to help me do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Remind me, guys, show of thumbs or hands. How many of you have at least one direct report for this group? I'm sorry, remind me. Everybody does, right? Okay, good. I'm going to dig in, and if I happen to hit something that you had also, but one of the key takeaways, as I do in each session, that I really want to encourage because I've seen such great results, is on page 80 to add on to what Deborah started with. And it's a 6-step process for dealing with people problems. The fact is, you will deal with those. In fact, I find this might be the highest or number one most asked question when somebody kind of gets me one-on-one, like, how do I deal with people problems? Well, we've talked in previous chapters, we can avoid and reduce a lot of people problems by increased regular feedback. Remember, water, oxygen, feedback. So the more feedback we can provide, we reduce our problems significantly and even exponentially with better feedback. We've also talked in previous chapters about crossing the bridge. As soon as you notice a situation, not to let it swell and get too large. But there are times we have real problems, the word problem. Now, interestingly enough, if you want to flip back to page 77, I love that little graph the author put in here. And I don't know if that resonated with you. He talks about the difference between a problem and a condition, right? And this is sometimes I'm particular about leadership words that we use. Sometimes we use the word problem and condition, that it is what it is thing. So it's important to cover. Condition means there are no solutions. It is what it is. A problem means that there's at least one possible solution. So anytime I'm looking at the small graph on page 77, anytime that there's a gap between the goal, where we're headed, and the actual output, that line that connects the two in between, that gap is called a problem, because there's at least one possible solution. All right. We would not have set the goal if it was not humanly possible. It would not have been a smart goal. Okay. And so now when we have the problem, what do we do? Now let's flip back. I'm sorry, kind of back to page 80. Now this is a 6-step process. You see the author again. I keep talking or using the language about standard operating procedures. We always have them in warehouses, but why don't we have them in leadership? And this is such a phenomenal process this author has put together for us. And I've seen great results with this. Okay. Now, one of my groups last week, and I don't think it was you guys, when we talked about the personal development plan I introduced you to in the last chapter, I said, it was actually my Friday group is when I finally realized I want to change it from personal development plan to personal coaching plan. Because when we hear PDP in corporate America outside of Veracity, that means I need to get this documentation in a file so I can fire somebody. Just give me a smile or nod if you know what I mean. It's like last chance. We need proof. No intention of helping the person become better. But LEAD has never been about that, nor is Veracity. And so I want to change that from last session. We changed it to personal coaching plan. How do you help someone from their first day through their lifespan with the company? Okay. Now, here you go again. The author says 6-step process for dealing with people problems. Okay. So this is not about running somebody out the door. This is done with a servant's heart, that I'm meeting with you, Jacob, today because my sincere interest is to help you improve, not to run you out the door. It's for us to win together more often. There's something getting in our way. Now, if you didn't highlight, if you didn't take notes, if you didn't dog-ear the page, here we go. Because if you haven't experienced this yet, I kind of say that with sarcasm, but you will. Here we go. Step number 1 is to describe the employee's specific performance issues and the result or lack of results caused by these issues. This is about keeping the employee or the employee's brain open. If I say, Jacob, you're always late for work, but Jacob's only been late twice, as soon as I say that, I've lied to Jacob. I'm not telling the truth. Jacob's mind gets frozen. He's like, no, I'm not. And nothing else happens from there. You see what I'm saying? But if I say, Jacob, you were late Monday and Tuesday of this week, then we move down to number 2. Describe the expected standards of performance. List specific occurrences that we did not meet these standards. Get concurrence on what the expected standards are, and acknowledgement from the specific occurrences, acknowledgement that the specific occurrences happened as you describe them. Here we go, right? I'm coming in with sincere interest. I'm not attacking you. We're talking about the situation. We've talked about that, the behavior, and we want to talk about, let's get it better. Again, servant's heart, right? I'm here to help. Number 3, here we go, friends. This is the one we overlook. Determine the cause of the issues. Did the employee know what was expected? What are we talking about there, Jacob? What was expected? Did the employee have clearly defined goals? Guys, if you're saying, yeah, Dane, that's dumb, I promise you'll be shocked how often performance issues are because there's not been a clearly defined target. Okay, here we go. Does he or she need additional training? How? H-O-W. So we have what, how, and then why. Are there any external factors? Is there a lack of motivation? Is the employee in the wrong job for his or her talents? Here's that old right bus, wrong seat analogy. So in the left-hand column by number 3, I'd love for you to write these words that we've talked about before. It's 3 words. You can stack them on top of each other. What, how, and why. What, how, and why. Anytime you're dealing with a performance issue or a performance opportunity, self-assessment, which is the next paragraph I'm going to read, have I, the leader, clearly defined what the expectation is? Have I, the leader, provided the appropriate training for this individual to be successful? Have I, the leader, tied in a why or a purpose to why we do what we do and how we do? What, how, and why. I have very few magic bullets. This is one, guys. If you'll just run the filter, what, how, why, it is a game changer. So let's drop down here. That next paragraph under number 3 says, please note, it's important to determine if this problem is caused by management rather than the employee's problem. Please don't let that sentence take you back. I can speak from very clear experience. It is oftentimes my fault as the leader more than it is the employee's fault. Doesn't mean they're not, because sometimes they know what to do, how to do, and why to do it, and they still don't want to. That's an attitude problem. That's where you start to slide into that F player box that we talked about. Okay. But before we get there, this is where I introduce you to what, how, and why. The F box. If you determine the performance problem is not the sole responsibility of the employee, make sure you, the leader, takes the appropriate corrective action. Then schedule a follow-up meeting to review the progress. Number 4, ask the employee for solutions. You see all these chapters are starting to tie together, and again. Don't tell people what to do, but ask, right? We've talked about that. Here we go. Ask for solutions. Be careful not to volunteer solutions. If the employee gets stuck, you can guide his or her thinking to stimulate creativity. When it's the employee's idea, ownership of the solution enhance implementation. When an employee has a good list of solutions, discuss each solution and the benefits for implementing it, right? So this goes back to the saying, do we work harder for our own ideas or somebody else's? Let's let it be their ideas. This goes back to the analogy I've used about bowling with my kids. Bowling, as long as the employee stays in the lane, it might be a little different than you would do it, but as long as it's in the lane of success, you may have to put the bumpers up to knock the ideas back into the lane, but let it be their idea as much as you can. Number 5, agree on specific actions the employee can take and a time frame for implementing them. Number 6, schedule a follow-up meeting to do what? Review progress. Now, if you'll jump back one chapter, 6.5 is the manila color page that we talked about at the end of last session. 6.5. So back one chapter, page 6.5 is a manila colored called the employee development plan. I didn't come up with this idea with this group. So scratch out development, change it to coaching. Employee coaching plan. But if you'll look, this format follows the exact 6-step plan. So there's your tool that you can use to implement what we just talked about on page 80. Just plug your ideas in here. Let the employee develop the action plan. You're working with them. It's got the last step down there at the bottom, follow up, review dates. See how that works together? What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tool. Again, you go into this with a servant's heart. I'm not coming to crush you. I'm not coming to break you down. Like the old coach used to do, break them down to build them up. Nope. Here, let's get a plan. Let's get back on track. Yeah. Okay. So Deborah, as you build that, boy, if you can work that in, I've seen that work just real simple, but you got to follow 6 steps. You can't do 5, can't do 4, all 6 make the difference. Okay. Leslie, what was your best idea?
Mine was, let me find that page again. Mine was on page 81.
Yep.
Start at the end result and work backwards, asking why. Just if, and something I've kind of found with if CRSs are unhappy about something, kind of figuring out what went wrong or what they're unhappy with down the path to figure that out to help them.
And Leslie, can I step on you just right now? Guys, everybody,
Sure.
Please listen to what Leslie just said. And she used the word subtly. I want to emphasize it. What is the real problem? What is the real problem? Okay, so it's talking about root cause on the bottom of 80 and over to 81. Again, this could be a 1-year study. I have found that when humans are dealing with the real problem, which is called the root cause, the analogy is that of a tree, starts underground as the foundation, then the tree comes up and above, right? Root cause. What is the real problem here? Now, when we were doing the goal worksheet, you've heard me twice now mention, when you get over here to possible obstacles, I think I have a coffee stain on mine now. Possible obstacles. Here we go, this side. The last 2 times I've seen you with the goal worksheet, I keep asking, get real specific. Is that the real problem? So if somebody says my obstacle is time or time management, you'll hear me say, tell me more about that. What does that really mean? Which slides then into page 80 about the why. Why is that a problem? And then depending on the participant's response, I may ask why again in a different way. I may actually just say why, but why? Or what does that mean? Or what will that do? And what I'm doing is I'm taking the shovel to dig, because I found, last time I'll say this today, I think, when humans know what the real problem is, we're amazing at solving the problem, and vice versa. When we don't have the real problem, we are tragic in our process of trying to fix stuff. Okay. So this is a great exercise on page 81. It's one of the methods. It's called the 5 why method. Put the problem means there's at least one solution. Grab your whiteboard, put it on the board. Do it by yourself or do it with a team. With a team, if it's a team adventure, it's one of the greatest experiences. And then you just ask, why is this a problem? And then you make a list. But why? But why? But why? You dig down. I'll share a quick story with you that has to do with pizza delivery as a 16-year-old kid that has nothing to do with the Rosti, but see if you can see something like this in your department. When I was 16, I grew up in a very small suburb just outside of Waco called Hewitt. Our school was Midway High School, and we were the Panthers. The cool place way back in the 1800s to work was at Panther Pizza. That was our mascot, Panther Pizza, delivering pizzas. So as soon as you got your license, that was the cool place to go get a job. Went and got a job. This was in the era, all of you are too young to remember this, but Domino's was the first to introduce 30-minute delivery, or it was free. And before they started offering that, it would take over an hour often to get a pizza that you had delivered online. And they said if it took a moment more than 30 minutes, your pizza was free. And people loved it. I mean, it was a genius marketing idea. And people would stand at the door and look at their watch and on and on. Well, it made a change in the pizza delivery industry in a significant way. And we were a small community. So the local owner said, we're going to do the same thing. Now, we offered a discount. We didn't do free, but we offered a discount. Well, we ended up having a problem. We had a whole bunch of 16-year-old drivers. We had this new thing that we were going to deliver pizzas in 30 minutes, or it was half off, actually. So half off. If you know anything about the food industry, there's very little profit in anything, let alone if you take 50% off, there's no profit, right? So you can't survive by giving 50% off pizza. Anyway, our problem is, as it were, if we were to write it on the whiteboard, was our pizzas are being delivered late. Okay. Give me a nod if you're with me. Yeah, we understand that. Now, these people used to literally stand at their door. This is back in the day when people wore watches and just tap their watch and know they get their discount or they got their free pizza. So it wasn't like 31 minutes was okay. It was 30 minutes or less. Now, we were a very small community. We knew where everybody lived. I mean, where the streets were and everything. It really didn't make sense, but okay. So this was the first time I ever saw the 5 whys work. The boss called all of us in, everybody from the pizza cooks to the deliverers, and said, we have a problem we want to resolve. Our pizzas are being delivered late. Now, if you ask the drivers, let's not ask the drivers on the team. Let's ask anybody who's not a driver. So us 16-year-olds are in the corner, and the owner asks, why are our pizzas being delivered late? Not as an attack, but asking why. What do you think everybody except the 16-year-old said about why the pizzas were being delivered late?
They probably all blame the driver.
What kind of driver?
Delivery driver.
Yeah,
16-year-old driver.
younger, yeah.
So it was an easy solution, right? They said, guys, you're never going to have your pizzas delivered on time when you put 16-year-old kids to deliver pizza. Okay. That makes sense, right? I mean, we were all 16 at some point in our lives, and all right, yeah. So had the boss taken that situation, what would his solution or resolution have to be? Fire all the 16-year-old drivers, get older or more responsible drivers or whatever, and start all the way over again, right? But this is where I saw the owner work. He said, okay, but why are our 16-year-old drivers, and we weren't all 16, but you understand, but why are our 16-year-old leaders delivering late? So he looks to us and he asks why. He says, and we all said, generally speaking, look, we're missing it by a moment. It's not like we're grossly late. We're missing it by a minute or two, maybe 5 at the most, but it's not like we're grossly late. And he said, but why are you late? And we said, because we knew the community pretty well. You know, we might turn left on Patricia Drive rather than right, and literally turning the car around and getting out of the car, that could make the difference to getting the actual home address. And he said, well, why are you taking the left instead of a right to get to Patricia? We said, well, we don't know exactly where we're going. He said, why do you not know exactly where you're going? He said, we don't have a map.
Yeah.
Everybody stopped. It was like that awkward silence. He said, so if we were to print a map and put it on top of every pizza box, guys, this is well before GPS and cell phones. Stick with me. I'm very old. Would that improve our situation or our condition? And everybody just looks at him like, no, duh. Yes, of course. Right? So guess what? In the old days, we had maps. We had what was called a Maps Co. You could, it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
book. You would look it up. You'd take it over to the photocopy machine. You'd make a photocopy of it. You'd get a yellow highlighter. You'd highlight the directions from the pizza shop to the person's front door. And guess what happened? We instantly that day fixed the problem. Not only did we fix the problem, we really were starting to get the pizzas there in about 20 minutes. So then we started to get a competitive advantage over Domino's, who was always at 30. Instantly fixed the problem. Why? Because we got to the real problem. Had he just done what a lot of us do sometimes, and this is where taking a silly pizza story, I want you to bring it to your department. Had he done what the quote unquote clear and obvious answer was, get rid of all the 16-year-olds and start over, he would have made no progress. Probably, right? But by asking the 5 whys and getting to the root cause, everybody looks up and says, oh, no, duh. That's the obvious answer. You can tell a 13-year-old, no, duh. And then that was it. It was fixed, instantly fixed. He never yelled at us. He never got mad at us. He never threatened us. He said, let's just get it fixed. He started doing the highlighters. They were on top of every pizza box. She jumped in, pulled straight up. Our tips went up. It was great. There's an example from the pizza industry and a pizza life that maybe you can bring into your department and say, hey, what's something we've been kind of continually having trouble with that if we really looked, we might not be trying to solve the root cause, that we're just putting Band-Aids. You know that saying, Band-Aid fixes, right? But let's get to the root cause. Does that help anybody in any way, kind of open a thinking process a little bit different, hopefully? All right, Kelly, what was your best idea?
Mine was, let me go back. It's on page 76 and deciding how you will decide. This is my first organization I've worked for where I couldn't just walk down the hall and talk to my supervisor or my boss or have those types of spaces. And so it was a little bit of a learning curve for me to understand my expectation and my role in my market. So this was a great reminder to me of how far I've come, and also knowing to make sure I'm instilling in my employees that they know the steps of who needs to go through for a decision. Like they don't have to come to me every time. And kind of teaching these steps. So it was, again, a good reminder for me of something that I need to make sure my team understands.
Cool. And Kelly, to help you even more for your red toolbox, back on page 7.5, just a little old yellow worksheet. But what does this allow you to do? It takes you through all of those questions. Why? Because what does that first word in the bold at the top of the words, top of the paper say? Kelly, what is that called?
What?
Top of 7.5.
Yeah. Oh, decision identifier?
Decision. First word,
Yeah.
decision, right? In bold. What does the decision mean? We could be making a mistake. Yes? Are you with me?
Yep.
What does that mean? Emotion involved. What kind of emotion? Fear. Potentially anger. Potentially frustration. What do we know about what do we know about emotion? What does our brain do? Come on, you should be helping me finish sentences now. Our brain freezes or locks up. We don't think clearly when we're working in emotion. So yes, just this little yellow worksheet in that red toolbox of yours. When you go to paper, what is it forcing your brain to do? It's forcing to move from emotion to a more logical place. Is every decision high energy, high fear? No. But every decision involves some emotion. So just come to this worksheet or a model of this worksheet, right? It answers all those questions that Kelly just referenced back on the previous page. So make sure that gets to your toolbox, okay? Exact same thing. Eric, hopefully I'm not stepping on yours. Back on 7.3. 7.3. Deborah, since you're my HR representative today, what is the title of the page? Do you have that with you by any chance?
I do.
Okay. What is the title of this worksheet?
People problem identifier
What's that middle word?
problem.
Problem. What does a problem mean? There are emotions involved. I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm scared. What does that mean? Our brain starts to freeze. What do we need to do? Move from emotion to logic. How do you do that? You go to this worksheet. These are all, look at this. 7.3, the first box. Somebody as analytical as Eric might say, seriously, it says, what is the problem? But when you're emotional, especially somebody with a different personality like me, that expressive side, hold on. What is the real problem here? How long has this been a problem? And expressive says, it's always been this way. Jacob, you've always been late. Well, let's talk about, no. You were late Monday and Tuesday. Yes, that's true. Always? No. So, it's bringing that emotion out and getting back to a logical place. So both of these guys and gals are as simple as that little piece of paper looks, are extraordinary tools to move from emotion to logic and help put you in the best possible place to make that decision that you need to go with. And also, since we're there at 7.4 in between the 2 pages, follows that exact same section that I covered on page 80. Here, it just walks you through. So what do we have here? Here's our tool so that we don't have to wing it. I was doing a small presentation for some of the BDMs this week, and we talked, salespeople are notorious for quote unquote winging it. That means you make it up as you go. And salespeople are pretty good at that, more so than average. However, the question always is there a better way? The better way is to be prepared, right? And so that's what this does. This allows you to take the emotion out of sitting down with the employee, make sure you do your part, make sure you've evaluated yourself. And it's a beautiful tool for you here. We loaded up the toolbox. I promised you that was going to happen today. Amazing tool right there. Oh, you know what scares me is as we're getting closer to the end, that you guys just let this stay in your folder, that you don't use it, because it doesn't work if it stays in your folder, but it does work in a fantastic way. And then my last one, to help Kelly know somebody, sorry, I lost track, 7.6. This follows directly with Rex's, the author's root cause analysis checklist of working through, again, methodically, moving with logic rather than emotion. Get down to the root. The real problem here was that we didn't have directions to the front door, not that we had irresponsible drivers. Okay. So what do? We just filled that red toolbox up almost to the brim. Okay. Eric, I want to see your best idea. And if I stepped on it, that's okay. I just want to hear it in your words.
No, actually, I guess I was just thinking maybe you knew that this is actually my least favorite chapter, and I had a hard time connecting with anything.
Okay. That may be the case. That's rare, but that may be the case.
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually read it twice, because normally when I read through it the first time, something will jump out at me, and nothing really did.
Okay.
So I knew I had to pick something. So what I did was that it's been my belief at Arasti, more so than any other company that I've worked at, that we involve way too many people in meetings, right? So what I picked out was on page 76, item 4 of deciding how you'll decide is how many people is it worth involving? Try to involve the fewest number of people. So
Yeah.
I will keep this, and in meetings that I think are getting a little crazy with them just inviting everybody, I could say, well, Dane said.
Yep. You got it. I'm okay with that.
I agree with you, Eric. That's, I think the number of meetings we have is reasonable compared to my
Yes,
past company.
I
However,
I would agree with that.
like a lot of things we do, we bring so many people in where it's not a good use of everybody's time.
Can I share an
Yeah.
idea with you? Both of you, I'll share all of you, because this is a case
Yeah.
back on 7.5,
Mhm.
back on 7.5. And I know why it's that way at Arasti, more so than others, is because we very much care that we're not stepping on somebody else.
We're very inclusive. Yeah.
And to a point, maybe too inclusive. However, check this out for both of you who brought that up, but for everybody on the 7.5, oftentimes somebody will ask me, I don't understand the difference between number 3 and number 4, box 3 and box 4. When you're doing your invitations for your meetings, these are two great questions you're asked. Who needs to be involved in this? A separate question from who must agree. So one meeting may be to lay the groundwork, to get the framework with a set of 5 people, for example. But we know that KG has to sign off on it. So that would be number 4. At some point, we're going to roll KG in, but he doesn't need to be in the beginning. We can do the groundwork. We can do phase 1, phase 2. Phase 2 might be a second group of people. Phase 3 might be a third group of people. My previous corporate America job, we do the day-long marathons once a month, marathons. And he would just bring in the corporate departments at a specific time to do their updates. Now we had at the senior leadership side, we had to sit through the entire thing. And I say had to because it was torture. But his point was, even if this topic today doesn't apply to you today, you're a senior leader. It may be something that tomorrow or next month or next quarter that you're going to be involved in. That's why he never dismissed us. But he did a really good job of bringing in. HR would be from 8 to 8:30 with their monthly updates. Then BDM would come in and announce, and he ran that where he didn't force everybody to be there all day long. So the two questions here: who needs to be involved in this decision? In this case, it would be a meeting. keeping in mind who then must agree. But KG, and I use KG just because it's at the top, right? Doesn't need to be in every meeting initially, but at some point we have to sit with KG and get his signature. And you can filter that down into your own departments and your own examples. So that may help both of you, but everybody on this call, and thinking, I'm not going to step on anybody's toes. In fact, I'm going to help them by recognizing we will get to you at the right time with the right information, but not pull you out of the office for something that you don't need to be a part of initially. Maybe that'll help a little bit.
It helps. I think it helps a little. And the other thing I've learned since I've been here is if you don't involve Kelly till the end, sometimes you've done a lot of work and then you have to go back and rework it. So what I've learned is along the way, like with the RFP process, for instance, or creating the values for the company, keeping a communication line or giving him updates as we were going, I think helped us a whole bunch. Otherwise, we think we have this really good result to present, and he has other ideas. So that's just another thing with decision makers, is making sure they're on the journey with you is helpful.
I think each leader is different. Some would rather you just bring the final copy to them.
True.
And values, example, that's a company-wide change or implementation. More so in your department levels, as does everybody in my department need to be in this meeting, or can they be in the next? Thinking through that on the lower level moves as they go. But everybody's different. KG wants to be involved in the whole process, but you may have another supervisor, director who says, just give me the final copy, or give me in the final third. As you're rounding third, that's saying, fold me in.
Yeah, understanding who the final decision
person
maker
is, right.
important.
Right.
Mhm.
Hey, Eric, what I do want to say is good job, because you didn't get, and it doesn't surprise me that you went back through to find something. I appreciate that. I also appreciate you saying that this one didn't connect. However, at some point in your career, you may pull this off the shelf and say, I bet there's a process in here with this knucklehead. You don't say that out loud, just in your head, that I can, that I could make this process a little easier for us. So thanks for sharing. Thanks for your honesty on that also. Good. Okay. All right. Let me flip through just for a moment. I always try to give you a key takeaway, right? In each session, I either go to the whiteboard or do a quick presentation. Today, the key takeaway is, whether it's today or tomorrow or next quarter or next year, handling people problems is just part of the job, and can be a fun part. And if you'll follow the process that we both have in the chapter, your worksheets in here, going back to the previous chapter, we've given you the tools. And I think in the book at this point, he's used the quote twice: people will remember how you made them feel well after what you've said. And when somebody's struggling, most people don't want to struggle. I don't even say nobody really likes struggling or performing poorly. When you're the person who reaches out to them and helps them get back on track and succeed, guess what? You got a soldier, right? And this, to me, is my favorite part of leadership, is helping somebody who's struggling, who we haven't given the time, or that really it fell on my responsibility that I could have helped them more. Now, if they know what to do, how to do, and why to do it and still resist, different person. But I find that to be a very small percentage of the quote unquote problems that we face. And I love the opportunity to pick somebody up and see what can come along. So what's my takeaway today? You've got all of these yellow pages, gots to go in the red toolbox. Gots to go in the red toolbox. All right, grab your goal worksheet if you don't mind. Water, oxygen, and feedback. Deborah wins that one too. She was the first one in with the body language. I want to continue to show you what I've been doing up to this point, is helping you learn the process. I also want to show you how you can use this to be an extraordinary and a dynamic leader, that you can stay in touch with your people more than, or providing more feedback than what you maybe have been doing in the past. Okay. Helping somebody achieve their goals, personal and business goals, is what we're talking about in the last chapter, this chapter, problem solving. So let's go through your goal worksheet. And this is very similar to how I would do a one-on-one once a week, at a minimum once every other week, with Jacob. I see and talk to Jacob a couple or multiple times throughout the week for other things, and we stay in touch. It's not like that's the only time I see him, but this is a dedicated time that I'm making sure I, as Jacob's leader or boss, if we will, am making sure that I know what his main thing is, that he's on the main thing, and that I'm there to support his energy and his effort to achieve that goal. So it might sound something like this. And I'm going to try not to break role play much here. I've got a counter on my clock. So we're at 51:20. All right, Jacob, you ready for our one-to-one today?
Absolutely.
All right, Jacob, let's take a look at your goal worksheet. At top line is your goal. What remind me, what goal are you working on? I would know this, but I don't remember. Go ahead, Jacob.
My goal is to drive more patients to Erasti from MDs.
Good. And do we have a real number on there, Jacob?
10% increase over what we did in Q2 of 2019.
Good. And have you converted that to a real number away from the percent to an actual number?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you've got a real target, a real bullseye as a number. We always want to work away from percentages to a real number. You've got that. Good. Is that goal still important to you?
Absolutely.
Good. Take a look at your second box, your benefits, your motivation. You don't have to share any with me, but is that fire in your belly still strong? Is there a reason to keep pursuing, making those hard calls? So you still feel good about your motivation?
100%.
All right, cool. Good job on that. Now let's go down to the bottom left-hand side. Let's look at those obstacles. And last week when we talked, we went through that list. I have you do this each time. I want you to look and make sure all of the obstacles you have first are still relevant. Can you cross anything off? Maybe it fell off, it's no longer an obstacle. Maybe you took care of it. Anything you can scratch off. Also, I want you to look at your list of obstacles and see if there's any clarity or digging down to more of a root cause that you may need to add. How's your list looking, and do you have a clear number one obstacle?
I would say yes. Most of my obstacles are ones that are always going to exist in sales. Basically meaning that there's an external decision maker involved in multiple processes along that way. It's first and foremost the physician making the decision to refer the patient. And then secondary to that, we only get credit. Our numbers only count if those patients come in. So
That's right. That's right.
That patient has to make the decision to follow through and come to Erasti as well.
You got it. So which one do we have an asterisk against now that is your biggest obstacle you feel currently? Or your greatest obstacle?
I would say that it's external decision makers, and just with the mess of 2020 and people being short staffed and not having a lot of time to do any form of external meetings. I think that's something that transcends not only my department, but Kelly's department and a lot of other departments. It's a unique time. So I would say that would be the number one.
Okay. How would you put that into different words? More specifically, setting appointments?
I would say gaining access.
Gaining access. Okay. All right. Good. What are two? Let's think of a specific scenario where you're having trouble gaining access.
Okay.
Can you call it out for me?
Yeah. It would be with the director of sports medicine with Inova Sports Medicine in Fairfax, Virginia.
Okay. Good. Good. Give me three possible solutions, maybe things you've already been doing. What are three possible ways that you can make that connection? So what I just did there is I'm now switching to the right-hand column with that one very specific situation. What are at least three possible things? Maybe thinking outside the box a little more.
Yeah, they are, my contact with them is very, very hung up on there being a major conflict of interest between Erasti and their internal PT department. So I have to make that crystal clear in that value proposition of what we bring, that we are categorically different from PT. Okay. And hopefully have her to see the value for the specific meetings that I'm asking with. There's two specific people that I want to meet within their organization that she is the gatekeeper to those people. Okay. One of those being the director of physical therapy for Inova, and the second being the senior vice president for all of Inova Sports Medicine.
Okay, good. Good. So if I hear you right now, your greatest obstacle is creating the clarity to her between PT and Erasti. Is that the biggest obstacle you're dealing with right now with regards to getting her to get you where you need to go?
Yes, I would say I am confident in my value proposition. It's getting her to see that value.
Okay. All right. So what are three possible ways you could get her to see that?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
What are three possible ways that you could get her to see what you know? Remember, we talked on that call that we did this week. Your perception and her perception right now are different. What is it you might be able to do to change that perception? How could you?
Yeah,
What have you-
I would say.
What have you done? What have you done in the past? Let's go there first. What's worked
Yeah.
for you in the?
She has experienced Veracity.
Okay, good.
Come in. They have been a part of what we do firsthand. Secondary to that, there's been quite a bit of explanation around the demographic that we work with. There has been discussion of cases that we could utilize them for. So us having just strictly at a monetary level, us being able to send them cases, which I thought she would have been a little bit more interested in that, but she was not.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, what else have I done recently? There's been a lot of discussion around episodic cost containment of an Erasti solution versus a PT solution. Would her patient demographic find value in that?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how close is she to sending you your first referral?
This person is not even clinical. in
Scale of
nature.
1 to 10, how close is she to getting you to the person that would send you the referral?
4, soft 4.
I'm going to break a role play. I would not normally do this on our one-to-one. We might do this at the beginning of the month to really get it ironed out. And for the sake that you all are not in the same department, I'm actually going to break that role play. I did not do what I thought I was going to do, but I can help Jake. But I don't want to take your time on that. So what you did just witness, even though it's not your department, is Jacob. I'm trying to walk Jacob, and I don't work for Rossi. I do understand BDM at a pretty high level. I'm trying to get him down to what is his current root cause problem. And I was kind of trying to rush it to stay relevant for you guys. And I was also trying to dig in more. So I kind of moved quicker, but I think with Jacob, we really want to get a target either to get her to come along, or we find a way to go around the mountain, over the mountain, through the mountain, find a different way in. And I would work with him at the beginning of the month. We'd really iron through that. For today, what I would do now, I will go back to role play. So Jacob, what I do want you to do, and before I go to role play, is let's hear how it normally goes. Jacob, what's your biggest obstacle you're facing today? We're back to role play. Jacob, what's the biggest obstacle you feel like we're facing today in pursuit of achieving that top line goal?
Do you want the same answer again? Sorry.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
fine.
External decision makers.
Okay, good. Let's flip that page over. Now, when he says external, it's too vague for me. That's driving me crazy, but because I'm in a role play, I'm going to let it go. But you guys know he needs to define that more, but I'm rolling with it so you can see how this works. All right, Jacob, what's your next action step to make connection with your external decision makers? One action step you could do, maybe what you did last time, or maybe something new. What is your actual commitment in pursuit of reducing that obstacle?
I have it written down right here. And actually, it's funny you say that.
Thank you.
Email follow-up with my contact at Inova.
Okay, good. And you guys all know, everybody knows this. Email is the least effective way to make connection. Remember the triangle that we talked about? That's just words only. So as I'm coaching, if I was Jacob's boss, I would say, I love the idea. And what about a video presentation? What about swinging by? What about? I want him to think the best way he can get in to connect with her is face-to-face, where she can see his body language. It may not be possible, but I don't want him to get stuck only on that email. Okay, so I would encourage that. But I like what you have there, Jacob. So I'm back to role play. I like what you have there. How can I help you with regards to that commitment?
I would say if I would like to send you the draft of what I would be sending.
You bet. All right. In your right-hand column, you've got room for that target date. So when should I be looking for that?
In the next 2 weeks.
You got it. Now, you know me well enough. In the next 2 weeks says you're going to get around to it. Let's get that out. That's important. Let's put a date on when you'll send me the rough draft.
1 week from now.
Okay, cool. So you're saying Wednesday about noon, I can see it in my inbox? Cool. I'm putting it in my calendar right now. I can't wait to see it. I look forward to that. Anything else I can do to help you out?
No, that would be wonderful.
Okay, great. All right. So I'll see you Monday for our Monday morning call. I'm glad you're working towards that. Don't hesitate to reach out. Remember to be thinking of opportunities outside of email to maybe so she can get to know you more than your email. And I'm here to help you with that too. So, all right, we'll see you Monday for our sales call meeting. But thanks for the one-to-one today. See you next time. Bye. All right. I would do that on video. It would have been up less than 5 minutes if it was a normal flow. So people say, I don't have enough time. Once a week or once every 2 weeks, give your guys and gals, you can get this down to 5, 4, 3, 2 minutes. It's not about rushing it, but I'm just showing you that you can do it quickly. It does not have to be a half hour. It does not need to be an hour. but that's what it would look like. Okay. Now that was very bumpy role play. I get it. I'm anxious to work with Jacob offline, but we're going to get there. So, all right, for everybody else, here we go. What is your greatest obstacle you're facing today in pursuit of achieving your goal? That's on the top line. Think of 3 possible solutions to reducing or eliminating that. Man, you made that hard on me, Jake. Once you have your 3 possible solutions, remember, possible means you might do it, but we want to flip the page over and turn one of those into an action step. So then you turn it over on the back of the worksheet and you make an action step. It sounds like this. I will record a 30-second video for Susanna at the Sports Institute, just saying hi and wishing her well, or adding a quick video on plantar fasciitis, and I'll send it to her by Friday at noon. Something like that. Okay. All right, Deborah, you ready? Did I confuse y'all with that role play? Probably did, yes? All right. I'll work on it. I didn't do well. I'm sorry. I'll keep working on it. Deborah, what's your commitment? I will.
Okay, so I'm changing, just so you know, I'm changing from my RFP goal to a new goal because I feel like that's pretty much under control. So I have a new opportunity. So our ACP, our chiropractic hiring, we're off by 8 people, and we need to fill a class of 12 by August 2nd. So what was the question? What are my obstacles or my priorities?
Well, I had you work through rhetorically, what is your biggest obstacle? I had you work through rhetorically 3 possible solutions. Now I'm asking you for the back of the worksheet to report what your actual commitment, your action step will be. What will you do with regards to trying to reduce that obstacle?
So I have 3 things I'm doing. One is our team does not have a pipeline and they haven't traditionally done sourcing. So I'm trying to teach the team how to source, and I brought an expert in to give us some best practices. And I'm also working with another expert to get us some lists. And then I'm also moving around resources so we organize around the most important work right now. So those are my actions.
Good. Okay, and we want specific action dates. Jacob, remind me, I maybe haven't been saying that as clearly. So when will you do what? Meaning specifically, when will you do what? Deborah, who's the doc? Who do you work with? Who's the hiring doc? Who's the boss of hiring docs?
It varies by region, so
Okay.
it's the VP of each region.
Okay. Give me a couple names.
So Mike Rorig,
Okay.
Troy Wenzel,
Okay.
Tommy.
Okay, good. All right, Eric, what do you have on your to-do list? I will.
I have a question. Is this the one that you wanted us to create something new, or this is the one that we've been working on?
In the session, the 2 sessions ago, when I introduced the goal worksheet,
Yep.
in the class, we worked on a personal goal, and then I gave you an assignment to come back to the next session with a business goal. I think it's exactly what you reported on at the beginning of class today. You're just making your
Yes.
next action step.
Oh,
Need a minute?
yeah, come back to me.
Yep. Kelly B. Kelly, where do you live?
Ohio.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Remind me where?
Just north of Cincinnati.
Yep. Okay.
So my professional goal is to keep working in our Salesforce CRM to keep things updated. I have 2 more sheets to get through. So again, this week or my next 2 weeks, it's to get through another sheet. However, I have a lot of new potential obstacles. We have a lot of moving parts going on in Ohio right now, some staffing shortages and just some hiccups that have occurred. So really making sure that I'm getting it done, but also not taking away from my family time, because I'm a big person of I will work way too long and way too late. So trying to make sure I'm finding enough time and balance to get them done.
Don't find it, make it.
I will make it.
All right, Leslie.
My goal, my stuff hasn't really changed much. Mine's to complete the evals by a certain date, certain number of evals, and I'm just whittling down those numbers.
Yep. So guys and gals, that will be the case many times. It's just repeating the action to make sure it gets done. And Leslie, I had an awesome call one-on-one with Camilla. I think we made some progress potentially to help all of you. So
Awesome.
we'll see what happens there. So
Okay.
it was very cool. She's worked really, really hard on trying to figure out that silver platter. She's done all of you have. So good.
Awesome.
Okay. Eric, what you got?
Okay, I went back to the board that I had started. So in the same project, we've been doing a lot of things, but we haven't addressed the user validation login from Raintree.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
is what I will be doing.
Good. Very good. Very good. Okay. We will be finishing a little bit early today, but before you get your mind there, which I know not to say that, I do want to start the thinking process of what graduation will look like. Okay. Because we will have worked together almost 6 months when graduation date comes. And you know my saying that little improvements over time produce dynamic results. With that span of almost 6 months, sometimes we forget or don't get a chance to see how much we actually have grown individually. So what we will do for graduation is each of you will do a very brief experience share. I'm careful not to use the word presentation because people freak out with that. It is very informal. It is very fun. But to set you up for what that will look like, and do not worry about writing this down now. I'm just planting seeds and we'll cover it next session even more. What you'll do to prepare for your graduation is simply go back through each chapter and just refresh your brain, freshen up again. And throughout doing that, you will present what was your very best idea from our time together on LEAD, the concept. Again, you don't have to write this down. I'll make sure to get it to you, but what was your very best idea? Number 2, how have you used that idea? And number 3, what is a success story that you've experienced over our time together through LEAD? It could be a personal journey, personal growth. It could be a connection you made with an employee. It could be a result you produced. It does not need to be in direct correlation to the program LEAD, but during our period of time, where is a shared success that you've had? Again, whether it's personal with another employee, an output, but just to start thinking about that. That's a month away, so no panic, no freaking out.
What is the date for that, Dean?
I can source it. Let me grab my phone real quick. Anybody have it before I get there? So it'd be 4 Wednesdays from now.
So is it the
Would it be the
14th?
14th?
Okay.
And you know what? I'm going to have to reschedule that. I am going to have to reschedule that. My son got invited to Washington, D.C. for a leadership trip, and I will be with him there. So I will handle that today. I'm glad you asked that because I would not have, that would have snuck up on me. I'm going to propose, I will propose either the week before or the week after, probably the 28th. But let me get with Courtney. She's so good at that. And see what works for you guys. That's my only conflict I had.
And it's just our group, not the whole group.
Well, I haven't decided that yet. We've done both. This is the first time I've had all 3 virtual at the same time. Usually I have 1 live and 2 virtual, and we do put the 2 virtuals together.
Awesome.
And we usually invite soups to jump in, and they'll come and go, and some may not jump in. I haven't decided yet. Do you have a preference? It's kind of fun to see everybody.
I'd like to hear what everybody learned. It's kind of fun.
That's
The
pretty
more
cool.
the more you hear.
That's probably what I'm leaning to, but that would be a big call. 2 is not too big, but 3 is pretty big. We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
Okay.
I'll let you know as soon as possible. So again, please do not freak out. It's not a presentation. It's just an experience share. You can read. Some people, what we do is you write me a Dear Dane letter instead of a Dear John. And so some people literally will just read it right off their page. Some people just do their share, but I do have you turn in the Dear Dane letter on your final session, and you will get a fancy gift or fancy certificate to hang on your wall. So that's coming. Okay, so take a look at the clock. 9:35. Guess what we just made? I'm going to cut you loose. So what did we just make? 50 minutes of time for you to do something you did not know you were going to have. So we could do 2 things. We could hang up and you could fill it with stuff, or you can pause just for a moment. Think of how you might invest those 50 minutes, highest payoff activity, highest reward for you. I'm gonna go around the room and ask you for your personal commitments, and then we're gone. So think of something you want to do, need to do, or have to do on the personal side, and then we are done. And when you got it, you call it, and we'll get through this, and you can be off the call in 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe. Leslie, what are we gonna do? Come on, kid.
So I had a big wake up call the other day. I got one of those notifications on my phone that had your amount of time spent on social media.
Come on, tell me
And
about
mine
it.
was 5 hours in one day. And I'm going to make sure I do not do that again.
Okay, make that a little more specific for yourself. Don't go through withdrawals.
I'm going to, I think, make one time a day, or maybe morning and evening, where I spend maybe 10 minutes.
Think about it, because that's a huge shift. So
Yeah.
we've always talked about little changes. Huge shifts are very hard on human behavior. So 5 times is only one snapshot, but if you saw consistency with that, then, but that might not be, that might have been a weird day. But
Yeah,
if it's
true.
5, then move it to 4, then move it to
Okay.
3, then to 2, then to 1. But make sure 5 is an average. That may be. It's not. That doesn't surprise me. Not for you. That's when you look at the statistics reported. That actually can fall on the light side.
it's crazy.
So, so be specific to help yourself win, and then wean yourself off rather than go through delirious tremens, DTs. We don't want that. All right, Kelly, what you got?
I have a ton to do.
So my challenge for you is to pick one, because you're overloading yourself with the to-do list right now. Get one.
I
and-
need to call 2 of our regional account manager candidates and give them an update on some of the changes to the process. So
all right, but I'm
make those
talking
phone
personal,
calls.
personal. Off the clock. What are you gonna do?
Off the clock.
Personal commitment.
Try to figure out what the heck I'm doing with my kids this summer.
What city are you in? There's a reason why I'm asking this.
I'm just outside of Mason, Ohio.
I've got family all over up there, but I don't think I'm trying to think.
I have a really good group of like mom friends who have
Oh,
all
cool.
sent a bunch of different resources. So it's just a matter of like reaching out to different places and figuring it all out. So
Okay. I know it's stressful. Hang in there.
thanks.
Eric, what's your personal? Just keep on working on that health.
I believe that's the best thing I can do.
I like it. I like it. I'm proud of you, man. That's very cool. Jacob, what are you going to do?
So I am going out on PTO tomorrow and Friday. And my personal commitment is I'm shutting my work phone off and I am leaving that at home.
Make sure you let the people know what to do if they need you, or if not you, but what do they do if they're in, if the house is actually on fire, and then turn that thing off. All right, Deborah.
So I'm going to reschedule my dentless paint repair, my DPR, and I'm going to do it for 2 different dates. So if I missed one, I'll do the other. So I have a backup plan.
If then, very good. Guys, I'm done. I'll stay on if anybody wants to ask any specific questions. Little improvements over time produce dynamic results. Don't try to change everything. Just improve inch by inch. Leadership's essential. I'll stay on if you need anything. Otherwise, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Adios. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Bye,
Bye.
gals.
Hey, Dane,
Talk to me.
did we have any specific tasks that we needed to complete between now and?
Next chapter. Just read and listen. I'll send it out. Just read and listen is all. And keep working your goal worksheet. I don't know why I got off track there. Yes.
So you'll send that.
2 weeks.
Hey, Jake, stay on just for 1 second if you can. Deborah, did you have a question for me? Oh, she's gone. Any brief feedback from our time on the sales call? What did you have a takeaway?
No, I think it was good.
I couldn't tell. I could not tell if I was connecting or not. I have no idea.
It's a tough group, if I'm being
Oh
honest.
yeah, I know. Wait till this group I have after you guys is hard.
Yeah.
They're good people, but it's hard.
Yeah, I connected with Rich afterwards on that. And, I think, when we got kind of towards the end where it just opened up and it was a little bit more personal on that, I think that's always beneficial for our group. I think that people tend to open up a little bit more. They tend to be a little bit more candid. And I mean, we've all gone through something in one time or another that's probably similar to that. So no, I thought that it was beneficial.
Okay. I have no idea, man. That's why when I realized, that's why I mentioned rushing to get to that point, because I knew it would open, and that is of value. So good. Hey, think about with this gal that you're talking about.
Mhm.
She needs to see you somehow. You got the personality. You need to differentiate yourself from the other guys, the other girls. Let her see you. Let her get to know Jacob. If you got to do a video email, if you can schedule a Zoom call, if you can stop by, but let her get to know Jacob. Maybe you're trying to sell too hard. Maybe just get a relationship with her first.
Yeah, and it's an interesting situation. So I'm still based in Texas.
Yep, that's right.
So we've had probably, I would say, 3 phone calls ahead of time, and a lot of it, I mean, where it gets frustrating is she falls flat on her end. Like we always will set something, like as part of closing, like we always set, okay, next step is for you to do this, and then it's frustrating working
Let
with
me
her.
stop my recording real quick. Go ahead. I'm sorry.